Hello, I'm Bob again, same day, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm going to continue reading the July 7th reading, I'm going to do the July 7th reading and continue the comment I was giving about it. So I'm just going to start with the reading and then continue with the comment where I left off, I hope. So the July 7th reading and letting go of it, the title's a continuation of yesterday's reading, which was identifying fear. So identifying fear and letting go of it, the title of today's reading. Primarily, fear that we would lose something we already possessed or would fail to get something we demanded. Living upon a basis of unsatisfied demands, we were in a state of continual disturbance and frustration. Therefore, no peace was to be had unless we could find a means of reducing these demands. The difference between a demand and a simple request is plain to anyone. That's from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book found on page 76. Peace is possible for me only when I let go of expectations. When I'm trapped in thoughts about what I want and what should be coming to me, I'm in a state of fear or anxious anticipation, and this is not conducive to emotional sobriety. I must surrender over and over to the reality of my dependence on God, for then I find peace, gratitude, and spiritual security. Period. The end of the reading. Now I think where I left off was about the wording of steps 5, 6, and 7, that in step 5 there's this phrase, the exact nature of our wrongs. I'll read the whole thing here. Admitted to God, this is step 5 from the Alcoholics Anonymous 12 Steps. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. That phrase, and then humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. And I read somewhere, so I believe it was in the big book. It might have been the 12 by 12 or the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book. But anyways, that those 3 different phrases, exact nature of our wrongs, defects of character, and shortcomings, are essentially the same thing. So now where I left off, I believe, was step 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings, period, is what the step says. However, you might think about it, or you could insert fear in place of shortcomings, so then it would read like, humbly asked Him to remove our fear. Okay, and I had made mention that humbly asked Him is going to require humility. And my humility, my ego dislikes humility, I think. Because humility requires a couple of things: gratitude and honesty. So my ego doesn't like other people getting credit for my work, that's for sure. And my ego doesn't like telling the truth sometimes, because my ego figures I'm going to come off as weak or inferior or somehow needing assistance. And all that is just like a realization that, like this phrase in the book today, I must surrender over and over to the reality of my dependence on God, For then I find peace, gratitude, and spiritual security. Surrender is a tricky, tough, complicated topic for me still, I think. I recall when I went through treatment the second time, I had the same sponsor or the same counselor, and it was at the same treatment facility. Just there was a gap of 5 years of my drinking in there, and then I went back to treatment, got the same counselor at the same treatment facility, and he again reminded me that I didn't know what the word surrender meant. And we did a lot of work on that, as I recall, and I'm still not sure how clear I am on it. There's a couple different ways of thinking about surrender and humility and honesty, and that's compliance and it sounds like complying, and it's spacing out on it right now. It's not the direction I wanted to go, spacing out. I wanted to talk a little more about the humility. Requires honesty. I'll put it that way. So my ego interferes with that. My ego is afraid, here comes that fear again, of telling the truth, because my ego's thinking the impression I'm giving is one of weakness, say. And that is not true at all. So then fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real, or fake events appearing real, fake experiences appearing real, fake expectations, false expectations appearing real. But fear is an acronym also that can mean face everything and recover, which is what I believe I'm trying to do here in AA, is recover some of my sanity and to recover from all the damage I've caused to myself from the disease of alcoholism. I'd like to continue living in remission of alcoholism. I don't believe there's a cure, but there's a way to manage the symptoms of alcoholism: the thirst, the compulsion to drink, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, all these shortcomings, and etc. We can live. I mean, people have allergies to bees, peanut butter, dog dander, pet dander, whatever. There's a whole bunch of different allergies that human beings susceptible to, and a lot of them can't be corrected, but we can manage the symptoms of it and live quite happily, regardless of what disease we may have. So alcoholism, think about this now. We're in the month of July. It's the 7th month, so we're going to look at the 7th step. And the 7th step says, I think we just said this, we humbly asked him to remove our fear rather than our shortcomings. I believe it can be interchangeable. If we're not humbly asking for that, and we're demanding it, say, rather than a request, now we have this expectation that it's going to happen a certain way. And a lot of times our ego will be thinking way ahead of stuff, going, if I do this, I will get that, and then everything will be roses, say. It'll be just dandy. And then the expectation was wrong or off, or somehow we didn't have enough information, so we presumed if I do A, I'm going to get B, and that's a done deal, and everything will be peachy, wonderful. And then when things aren't peachy and wonderful, we can sometimes get very upset and angry, and of course what becomes the problem with that is that we might go into relapse and start actively consuming drugs and alcohol again, and that would kill me. I'm quite certain of that. Man, the battery's going to die again. And I've talked 10 minutes, so I'm going to stop here before it just abruptly cuts me off. And give this battery a real good charging. I don't think I'm going to be back talking about this topic much more or at all today. So thank you for coming by here, and I'll get back with you later. Goodbye.